Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial *149 *10# to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers on voice and data.
To buy a bundle for friends and family, dial *149 *10*5#. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today. Dial *149 *10# to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Well, another very lovely morning. My name is Jagan Semakola Zixoka. Welcome to UBC TV. It is a Pan-African Friday today, the 13th of this month of August in this year 2021. Another very lovely day. Welcome and thank you so much for joining and for choosing to be with us here on Good Morning Uganda. It is a Pan-African Friday. It is a Pan-African Friday today, and it is a Friday. Now, remember, we need to continue emphasizing that COVID is still with us. We just need to put on our masks rightly. We need to social distance, sanitize whenever possible. Let's do anything that we can do to ensure that we fight the pandemic of COVID-19. Vaccination is also going on in the country. For those of you who can access vaccines, wherever they and those who are in the brackets that are very vulnerable, please do whatever you can to go and get vaccinated, because it is one of the proven ways for which we can combat and fight or curtail the spread of the virus of COVID-19. Welcome and thank you so much for choosing to be with us here today. With me in studios is my fellow panelist, called Mande Amazima. Karibu.
Yes.
A very lovely morning.
Yeah, likewise.
Very good. Ndugu James Mututa is not with us in studios today, but he will join us on Zoom wherever he is. He is on official duty somewhere, but I think his time might allow him to join us on Zoom later. But of course, in studios here today, again, is... another comrade with whom we are going to discuss and talk about issues of Zambia. This particular morning, joining us here is Mr. Christopher Wanga. He's the head of research at the Uganda People's Congress Party. You're very welcome.
Thank you, sir, very much.
We actually don't call it UPC Party. It's the Uganda People's Congress. You don't call it UPC Party.
You are very right.
It's the Uganda People's Congress. You're very welcome, Mr. Wanga.
Thank you very much.
Happy to have you here this morning. And of course, we'll also be joined by Collins Chianji. He's a youth activist in Lusaka, Zambia. He will be joining us, and we also hope that Reverend Alfred Banda from the UNIP party in Zambia, who will also be joining us today. Now, what we're doing today is we are discussing and talking about elections in Zambia, which started, of course, yesterday. Vote counting is underway, and we are getting to Zambia today on our Pan-African Friday. Ndugu Wakol, I'll start with you. About Zambia, welcome.
When I talk about Zambia, very many of us, the minds go to the late Kenneth Kaunda, KK, the father of the nation who ruled that country, or who actually led that country for 27 years. And most of us, what also comes into our mind is the Mulungushi Club when you talk about Zambia, because Mulungushi is actually is a place in Zambia. So the Mulungushi Club that consisted of the late Kenneth Kaunda, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, and Dr. Milton Obote. So those are some of the things that really still, yes, was KK, who died this year. So when we really talk about Zambia, also Zambia is that we talk about Zambia, we remember the first, I think it was the first country in sub-Saharan Africa where the president organizes elections, he loses an election and concedes defeat and hands over peacefully, because that was in 1991. And I think that is what comes in mind when you talk about Zambia.
Well, very important. Now, the elections, of course, happened yesterday, Thursday, 12th August this year. One of those countries, of course, remember when we got into the lockdown in 2020, we had about 22 countries on the continent of Africa that were supposed to go through an election. And we saw them go through an election or go through elections. We did not see many countries actually that postponed the elections because of COVID-19. There are those who went into elections in the heat of the pandemic. Then, of course, those that came on much later. We saw the countries that went into elections. And, of course, this particular year, one of those that went into an election at the beginning of the year, Uganda was one of them. Now, Zambia, another African country today, also has gone through the election, and the counting is on the way. Mr. Lwanga, Christopher, here is where we are today, looking at the issues in Zambia. You're very welcome. We know the Uganda People's Congress and the country called Zambia. But how do you look and how do you see the issues and the election itself in Zambia? And what would you have to say about that?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to make a comment about Zambia. Normally, when one talks about Zambia in the image of Uganda, in the image of Uganda People's Congress, there is a lot of fusion, there is a lot of interaction. The person you are hosting today here regards Zambia as his second country.
Is that so?
Yes. I worked there, I lived there from 1989 to 2006. And I did not only stop working there, I also married from there.
In Zambia?
In Zambia.
You married them Nyanja, you married them...
I married from a Lozi tribe. That is Western Province. But unfortunately, in 2000, my dear wife passed away.
Sorry about
that.
But
we still have children and grandchildren who trace their roots from Zambia.
Okay.
So, coming to the real issues now which are bringing us, there's a lot of historical connotations between Zambia and Uganda. One of the key connotations was that Southern Africa, basically, I don't know whether I can remove this.
You do. You remove and me and him will actually put us on, yes.
Yes, it gives me time to talk. Okay. Southern Africa, basically, was under racial segregation. So that meant that it was only Uganda which had an opening. And if it is Uganda which had an opening, most of the Zambian nationalists came to study here as way back 1940s, 1930s, 1960s. So we built a very strong bond. These schools like Bilali, Namuyenje, Mukono, they had Zambians. And those Zambians produced children who remained here. That is one of the bonds. Then when the independence struggle started of Zambia, Uganda National Congress was slightly ahead
in its politics. Because remember, Uganda National Congress managed to open a front with Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, managed to open a front with the Nasser in Egypt, yes, and also managed to open a key front with the Afro-Asian Coordination Committee. That one now gave facilities to Uganda National Congress, which Uganda National Congress did not use selfishly. Uganda National Congress now, yes, started uplifting others and taking them for further studies, scholarships, and what have you. Now, in that situation, a serious bond was created. Then there was an organization known as PAFEMCA, a Pan-African sort of organization, which was starting to plan for the eventual taking over of power in Zimbabwe, in Kenya, in the entire East and Central Africa. So there you could see that earlier nationalists in Zambia like Harry Nkumbula, Kenneth Kaunda, we are now working, we are now fusing closely. So that fusing helped us to build a bond. And what other people don't even realize, when Dr. Kenneth Kaunda was coming from Lancaster House after he has secured independence for Zambia, he made a stopover at Entebbe before he reached Lusaka and broke the news to his colleague, Dr. Apollo Mento. Yes. So from that very time, we became so much fused. And when now Zambia was left with their government to run, all these leaders were running from previous leaders who have been in the system. Nkrumah taught a number of them. We also learned a lot from Nyerere, and also Kaunda learned a lot from us. It was a chain. Okay, so you will find that even now as we fused, we started identifying the enemy and we started identifying the common interest. The common interest remained streamlining nationalism, building up Pan-Africanism, and building up a good voice in international affairs, which is internationalism. So all these things we are now to act as a nerve center and refined further to have the Mulungushi Club.
Hold it here, Mr. Lwanga. Yes. Other comrade, James Mututa, is online. He's on Zoom, actually. James Mututa, let's get you. Let's see you, let's feel you, and see how to get you into the conversation. Karibu.
Yeah, I don't know if you are getting my audio. Are you getting my audio?
I don't seem to hear you, Mututa. Maybe unmute your microphone on your gadget and see.
Okay, maybe I will, let's work on audio, then I'll get back at you if you are not getting me.
Mututa.
I'm trying to get to you, but it seems you are not getting my audio.
Oh.
Hello?
Okay.
Are you? I'm trying to get to you, but we seem not
no, we'll come back to Mututa. We don't seem to be getting Mututa in our studios here. He's talking back to us. We don't seem to be getting him in studios. Our technical person should just help us see how we can get to Mututa. And Mr. Lwanga.
Yes, please.
Yes. Let's first glean from your. Let's glean something here from your experience in Zambia and. How you saw Zambia, and of course want to cascade that to what is actually happening today at the elections there. We've had this historical bond of the two nations. We virtually speak the same languages, we name our people the same, and the history that, yes, we've lived together here, been together here, is what's tapping from you before Mututa came in here. Let's continue with your submission as Mututa comes back.
Yeah, so as I was trying to explain, that there have been a lot of fusion. And when Mulungushi Club came in, that fusion became a match. You could find that there was a setup, any government document, any government plan, whether it is for Tanzania or Zambia or Uganda, they were easily shared. And when I went to some of these public libraries in Zambia, I found a lot of literature on Uganda, which Uganda government supplied to them because of that coordination, because of that cooperation. Now, what is going to be interesting is that Zambia developed an ideology. Uganda developed an ideology. Tanzania developed an ideology. It is Tanzania which kicked off with Arusha Declaration, which is Ujamaa philosophy. Then Zambia followed with the humanism, which involved some nationalization of Mulungushi and Matola reforms. Then also Uganda followed later with the common man's charter. But when they were making those announcements or pronouncements, each and every leader also was part of it. Okay? So that solidarity continued to push. By the time of Amin's coup in 1971, Zambia had already made a decision to join East African Community.
They wanted to come to the community?
Yes, because they were almost already part of it through the Mulungushi Club. So it was going to give us an additional mileage. But since now Amini disrupted everything, then they said, okay, we are going to help Ugandans and Tanzania to overcome Amini's threat.
Okay.
So now Zambia opened its gates
to the East African brothers.
Yes.
Let's first hear from Mututa.
Yes.
Mututa, back to you again. Mututa?
Yes. I'm trying to get back to you.
Yes.
Are you getting me now?
Yes, we can hear you. We just want to know where you are because we know you're not stationed somewhere. And if we lose you somewhere, we'll appreciate that. But we know that you are in transit somehow.
Yeah, we are traveling, but I'm following the program and it's very interesting. Unfortunately, I missed being there, but it is very interesting to hear some of the revelations that many Ugandans seem not to know that we have come this far, and somehow we keep backsliding. But that is very crucial information that we are getting now, and I think it is a bit encouraging that we have people who can talk about our history without fear or without being antagonistic. That is very important to me as a Ugandan, but as a Pan-African, I also feel encouraged that we are on the right track when it comes to the cooperation of Africa, when it comes to unity of the African people. Now, maybe towards the end, there will be a number of issues that I will want to get clarity on. But for now, let me be following you. I think I'm going to enter in an area where the network could be problematic. But towards the end, I will be back, I think, with more information, but also some of the clarification that I want to learn from the colleague. But so far, so good, and I'm very happy hearing all that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mututa, and we also thank God for technology. We thank God for technology, and we thank the scientists also for inventing technology, that you're not in studios, you're actually transiting to some other place, but you can follow the conversation, you can listen to us, and you can be able to talk back to us. Thank you, Mututa. When you get a clearer or better network, wherever you will be, make sure that you come back to this conversation. Thank you. Asante. Well, thank you very much. Ndugu Akol, here is where we are. Now, Mr. Lwanga here from the Uganda People's Congress, of course, is giving us a lot of this very good information. And this takes us back to several years. When the desire for a united Africa, a desire for a Pan-African society, a desire for all of us, President Museveni keeps talking about these artificial boundaries that came here. We saw in Kenya, they had the vice president in Kenya, we had the minister in Uganda. but these are sons of the same, but the same parents, living differently. Recently, we were in Tokyo, and we saw a Kenyan commentator saying actually the Ugandan medalists are supposed to be Kenyans because they share the same language, they share the same cultures, they share the same names and all the things. And the other Kenyan thinks or feels Jemtais and the Cheptegeis of this world of Uganda actually are supposed to be the other side. When you go across, you go to places where now a Ugandan wakes up in the morning, and when they're going to buy something from the shop, they actually cross over to another country. They're living at the borders. There are people from the other countries who are now coming to Uganda to do all these things. But today, we are focusing and looking at this country called Zambia, where we see this very tight election between the two men there. The incumbent president, Edgar Lungu, of the NP party and the PF party, and the... And his opponent, Hichilemana. We're looking at that, but it's also very important to get this history of the two countries. Why would we even be concerned about the election in Zambia?
Well, thank you very much. I think the election in Zambia is something that we should take interest in, just like an election on the African continent. Yeah, because we need to see how far the continent is growing in terms of democracy, in terms of good governance, and to what extent can we organize free and fair elections. Yes, that elections that actually meet the standards that have been set. Now, Zambia, as you said, you realize that Zambia has a lot in common with the people of East Africa, especially the people of Tanzania. You'll find that the Wanyakyusa in Mbeya have their colleagues that side of Zambia, but also you realize that a language like Chichewa is widely spoken in Malawi and also in some parts of Zambia. And actually, yes, so that shows how close the people are. But again, as you really mentioned, that in the 40s, Makerere University actually, I think, was the only university in Eastern Central Africa that really most people traveled that distance to come and study. Even when there were serious Pan-African struggles, if you read a book by Kanyama Chiume was from Malawi, but he will also explain how they work together with the forces in Zambia. That is teaming up with Kenneth Kaunda, the likes of Simon Kapwepwe, in trying that they mentor young people for leadership. So now the election, this particular election in Zambia, I just see it as a shift from the past, because in the early days of democracy in Zambia, the competition was always between UNIP, the United National Independence Party of Kenneth Kaunda, and MMD, that is Movement for Multi-Party Democracy of Chiluba. But now we are seeing a shift from that, because now we are seeing new players. We have PF Patriotic Front, which was actually started by King Cobra, the late Michael Sata. You know, his nickname was King Cobra. And we are now also seeing United, it is UNPD, United National Party for Development. And you also see that the person who's actually leading, that is Hakainde Hichilema, who is commonly Hichilema, who is commonly known as Barry, that is in Lusaka and Zambia. He has contested for more than 5 times.
His other nickname is
Yes, he has always contested. He's a businessman. He has always contested, and he's always there. And I think this is the 3rd time they are facing it off with Edgar Lungu. So this is the 3rd time, because I remember in 2014. Then in 2016, now 2021, this is the 3rd time, and it has always been a stiff competition between.
And the same party before, the same party before Edgar dropped out in 2001. These were men of the same party. They were just like all the other Africans. They do work. But I'm just being told that Collins from Lusaka, Zambia, is actually online. Let's see how to get him here to give us the actual situation in Zambia. Collins. Collins, can you hear us? Can you get to us? Can we see you? Okay, we'll find Collins slowly and steadily. I'm told he's in Lusaka. He doesn't have a very good network, but we'll see how to get him to us here. Now, the other issues that I also want us to, call is when you look at the election in Zambia, it has attracted 14 contenders or participants, 16. The election in Zambia had 15 participants. The election in Uganda had 11. For the first time, I think that's the biggest number that we've had. The election in Ghana had about 13, and you know it's just increasing. What do you think is causing all this? Because we used not to see these elections where you have so many people, everybody coming out to say, I also want to try it out, please vote for me as the next president of this country.
Well, I think this is sure that Africa is not falling short of leaders. We have now a variety from which we can choose. All we need to do is to come up with systems, credible systems, through which the Wananchi can choose who is most suitable to lead them. I think that is the bottom line. But also what is why we are having 16 is that unlike in the previous elections where you would see parties forming alliances, this time I'm seeing most of the parties going it alone. We're going it alone. For example, UNIP, the Independence Party, they have a candidate. This time round they're saying, look here, we have to go to the ballot. MD of the late Frederick Chiluba also saying, look here, we are also going on the ballot. So I think that is the bottom line. That we are seeing that every major historical party is saying, yes, much as we are not a serious force, but we have to be on the ballot. And why are they on the ballot? It is mathematics. Because the constitution of Zambia says that to be president you must garner 50+1. So now I think some of them say, look here, in the event that PF and UNPD fail to garner the 50+1, then they can bargain now. Say, look here, they can bargain. So that is the calculation. So the other parties are trying to perhaps to position themselves so that they can come up with a third force that is in the event of a what? Of a rerun, where if none of them, because remember in 2016, Edgar Lungu actually won with 50.3. Yes, 50.3. It was something, a very small margin. And given what is happening, because now currently there is the economic crisis, the debt burden, and of course the effects of COVID-19. So the speculation is high that most likely there might be a rerun. There might be a rerun, yes, because of what is going on in the country. And also we can also realize that the number of voters who registered this time round is up from 6. The other time they had 6 million. Interestingly, Zambia as a country has in other words, the geographical area is bigger than Uganda, but in terms of population, there are just 17 million people. For us here, we are we are coming to 45 million people.
Okay. Well, that's important. Now, that's our President Edgar Lungu, one of the very first yesterday to get to the polls when Lusaka opened up for the polls yesterday. And President Edgar Lungu, the incumbent president there, going to vote. And just a day before that, when he addressed the nation, just like any other man with faith, he said, I hope I win this election. Hopefully I win this election. And of course, he subjected himself to an election democratically, just like it happens elsewhere. But the theme, and these are some of the pictures that we get from Zambia. Now, that was yesterday when the country opened up for the polls there. Mwami Luanga, let me come back to you here and look at these issues in Zambia. Now, it is very important for us to know the historical bond between the two countries and also get to learn and know why this election, if it does, why it concerns us, what will happen, and do we really care who among us 2 or 14, who among us 16? Of course, there are 16 candidates in there, but the race is majorly between 2 people. Do we really care who actually gets to the summit of leadership in that country?
Actually, thanks very much for raising such issues which are very important. one thing which I must put clearly, the political development of Zambia and where it is now should be a classroom, should be a lesson for Uganda.
Sure.
Well, yes, why am I saying this? In early 1970, there was the Mayinza Kyona Commission, which went around the country in Zambia, and agreed on one-party participatory democracy, which is like the equivalent of movement politics, which we had here. Then, as a result of that, Zambia went one-party state. But towards the end of 1980s, the very Zambians were saying, this thing may not be working for us. This thing may not be working for us. And they started demanding for opening up political space. And I think the activists met somewhere in a certain hotel along Lusaka West, and they agreed to form a political party, which was MMD, Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. But then again, why Zambia is very important to us, the government of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda was still having a mandate of an additional 3 years. But when he saw the political temperature rising, he said, why should I continue with this mandate? Maybe I organize a referendum for the people to decide whether they go multi-party or
we stay with the one party
or plural politics. Then again, at a certain point, he said, but if the people are agitating too much, a referendum for what? And he cancelled even the referendum and called the results straight by simply making a constitutional amendment in Parliament.
You were in Zambia at that time?
Yes, I was in Zambia. And I was watching all those things live.
As a young man. What were you doing in Zambia?
I was an expatriate teacher. I was watching all that. So, if major political issues in the country can be solved or resolved by simply a change of heart of a leader, I think Uganda and Africa needs to read more from Zambia.
Okay, hold it there, Mr. Lwanga.
Yes.
Collins is back here on Zoom. Collins.
Hello.
Good morning, Collins.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, we're happy. We can see you. We can hear you. How is Lusaka this morning? Hello, Collins?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yes, I can.
Very good. How is Lusaka this morning?
Well, the environment, I think, is too... people are still eager to hear the results. And I think it's a bit calm compared to yesterday. Yes.
How was the exercise itself from yesterday? How is it like? And when do you expect the Electoral Commission to announce the official results? Having gone through, of course, don't tell us who is winning and who is losing. We leave that to the discretion of the Electoral Commission. But when do the people in Zambia expect to get the final results from the Electoral Commission to know who their next president is?
Currently, they're still counting, because I think the queue was very long of the people who were casting their vote, the citizens. So there was a prolongation of the voting. So we end up like people finishing very late voting due to the long queues. So we're expecting the ECZ to bring out the final judgment probably on Sunday or Monday.
Okay, well, that's important. From you, what do you think were the issues that will affect the outcome of this particular election? What are these pertinent issues that woke up all the Zambians in big numbers to go and vote? The issues that they looked at and said, these are the issues and these are what the candidates are giving to us, and we think because of the following reasons, we need to go and vote.
Well, I think there are a lot of factors, and among them, maybe I can try to mention a few here. I think one of which is that the country has experienced quite a number of issues, which the citizens themselves notice that this is not proper. Hence, we have the right for us to work out these issues, looking at the rights that we have as citizens. So, since this is a public, I think I may not be allowed to speak out some things, but I'd say when you look at the economic structure of Zambia, it had really gone down in exchange with dollars. Also, the prices of local commodities. So due to those reasons, due to those things, I think the citizens were a bit not interested in what was going on. Hence, they thought that this was their time to exercise their rights.
How has the media been behaving throughout the election or the campaign period? We normally, when we get into elections, we tend to teach our people, we tend to tell our people not to promote hate speech, not to promote divisionalism and quite a number of things. How has the media been behaving in Zambia all throughout the period of campaigns up until yesterday when you voted?
Well, I think the media has done a lot of recommendable job to both parties, because the huge influence has come from the media. So I think the media has done its best to ensuring that people are being notified, and also the country is being kept updated. Yeah.
How about the politicians? I also want to look at the other political players in this particular election, because the media can do their best as a fourth estate, but how about the players in there, the stakeholders, the political parties, because we're seeing the ballot had 16 contenders. How many of these were representing political parties, and how many of these were independent candidates?
Well, about that one, I think there were a number of candidates, as you said, but I would say I never paid much attention to these other opposition parties, because like the major game is between PF and UPND, but we have also other opposition parties, but the focus was on these two. So to my knowledge, I wouldn't say I have much information about these other
Collins.
Other opposition parties.
Collins, I understand what you're saying, and of course yes. I also know. We had an election in Uganda where we had 11 contenders in January this year. Yes. But of course, the election was not between the 11 persons. The election was between majorly two people. It happened it happens in Kenya, it happened in Tanzania, it happened in Ghana, it happens elsewhere, where you know that even when you add 20 or 30 candidates on the ballot, the race is normally between 2 or 3 people. But how have these two parties been behaving? The UNPD and the PF party. I want to look at them as the biggest parties, of course. One is the incumbent party, then the other is the biggest party, the opposition. I just want to know how the two parties have been behaving throughout this period.
Well, I think it's kind of like it's a trade thing, like in everywhere where there are elections, where you'd find that people, there are kind of all sort of like, fighting, all sort of things going on, in fighting to win the people, maybe fighting to convince the audience so that they can give them the vote. So I'd say there have been a lot of things that have been happening to very unfortunately, some families that have lost their loved ones, and as a nation, we have lost some people due to these issues that has been going on with the opposition party and the ruling party in trying to reach out to the citizens, ensuring that they have the understanding of their manifesto.
Okay, Collins, have you personally participated in an election before this particular election? Have you had an opportunity yourself to vote in an election in Zambia before this vote?
Yes.
Okay, and what do you think is with the majority of the young persons who are possibly coming into the election for the first time? What is the excitement like, and what are they excited about? Because we know that in every election there are people who have been voting, and there are people who keep coming into the vote, and every other vote that happens is the first of its kind to them. What have you read from the young Zambians who have participated in this election as the very first election that they are getting into?
I think all this goes back to social media, because social media being the platform whereby it has accommodated a lot of people. So a number of the young people have been informed or have been educated of their rights and their participation in such kind of affairs, like political affairs, developmental affairs. So I think this has really motivated them in a sense that they've been educated with a knowledge of their rights, in a sense that how best can they participate to bring about development in their countries.
Okay, just before I come back to studios and you follow the conversation from the gentleman here, one other one from you. We having elections on the continent of Africa, majorly from the beginning of last year, amidst the COVID pandemic. I just want to know from you how you've managed to observe the SOPs of COVID-19 as you also get into the voting. Did the people observe that? Did you look into those issues? Because we don't want to come out of an election and again see an increase in infections of COVID-19.
But COVID-19, I think the country is still observing the measures which we are being put, which is social distance in some places, of course. Not all the places. I think you have been following online that some people are not following social distance. But the putting on of the masks and sanitizing, it's really being observed. Even before you enter a polling session, they make sure that you are putting on a mask and they sanitize you.
Okay, well that's important. Yes. And the other is how many? I'm looking at the other persons that were also attracted in this election. Did you vote for only the presidents, or you also voted for legislators, members of parliament?
Yes, we also voted for members of parliament.
Okay. Well, that's very good. We'll come back to you, Collins, in Lusaka, Zambia. Continue following the conversation here on UBC TV in Uganda. We thank you so much, and we hope that you stay online till the end of our program. Mr. Lwanga. Yes, yes, Collins is in Lusaka, Zambia, and he just gives and paints a picture to us. I had actually told my comrade Akolia that we expect the results possibly Sunday or Monday, because it's not an easy exercise that you just get into, and it's not like a football match where after 90 minutes you must know the winner. If there's no winner, you give them an extra 30 minutes. If there's no winner, then you take them to the sport kicks, and of course judge that same night. Whether it goes up to midnight, you need to know that Chelsea has carried the trophy to Stamford Bridge. But from what you hear, what you've heard from the young man, Collins in Lusaka, Zambia, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, one thing which I must emphasize is that in Zambia generally, it is a country which has very good communication links, whether at a society level, whether at a tribal level, whether at a national level, whether at a professional level, their level of communication is quite advanced. Because I remember, like in my former school,
where you were teaching?
Yes, I was teaching at Holy Cross Girls School in Mungu, the western province of Zambia. Within the school, you don't need to bother to go to your fellow member of staff. You just pick a landline and you ring. That shows you that the communication levels had reached a certain level. Then when you are in the staff room, it is normal to listen to 13 hours news, 1 p.m. news, and 8 p.m. news. Then when you are walking on the street, it is easy to find each and every person with a newspaper. Then when it comes to politics getting heated up, somebody can come in to give a direction. That level of communication, I admire it. And it is as if they have transferred it even in their body politic of politics. I can give an example. There was a time under MMD government, the late finance minister, Ronald Penza, went to Paris Donor Conference and what have you, and signed the unpalatable agreements. Now, as he was about to come back to Lusaka, to Lusaka International Airport, members were mobilized that we go and we show our displeasure towards him. How can he sign such a thing?
The question is, how did they know that what the minister signed in Paris?
Yeah, because of their communication.
Okay.
Now, as they were trying to go, very much wounded, another senior politician came in, Mr. Roger Chongwe. And Roger Chongwe said, no, this Ronald Penza is simply a messenger. If we are to do such a demonstration, it is better we go to plot number 1. For them, plot number 1 means the State House. That is where
the decisions came from.
Yes. This one is just a messenger. So people who were warming up.
Who was in office at that time?
Mr. Chiruba.
Frederick Chiruba.
Yes. People who were warming up had to retreat. Yeah. We have really understood. He Penza is a messenger. But now going to State House in this manner.
Yeah, but I also need to get into, I also need to know how the Zambians knew about what Penza had done for their country in Paris. Was it because of the politicians? Was it reported on national TV already?
That is their level of communication. Because I can tell you, in my former school, all types of newspapers could be made available in the staff room. And any communication which has come from government, it is dropped at a school. So you will get a police on agriculture, you will get a police on what, that level of communication. Okay? And then among their societies, there is something they built which is neat. And this is known as Chimbuya, or a sort of cousinship. When I call you from another tribe, and I have offended you, and you are really wounded, I will look for your tribal cousin to come in and try to talk to you nicely on my behalf. It will be respected, okay? And we get along. Let me just give you an example. I had a very serious issue. In Zambia, you don't pregnant someone and you get away with it unless you have married. Okay.
But I think everywhere they don't.
No, they are very serious. Here it is easy to handle it. There, you know that there are some fines to pay, damages to pay, and even annoyance which you have created.
It doesn't matter whether you're from the same same tribe or so?
Yes, it doesn't matter, but it is a very serious case.
Okay.
Okay. And for the parents, they have reasons to be wounded.
So what serious problem did you have?
Because I had created the pregnancy before I was officially given.
You took your Ugandan ways.
Yes. Okay. Before I was given my wife. It was very serious.
You exported the Ugandanness to Zambia.
Yes, it was very serious. And my father-in-law told me.
Mr. Langa, yes, just hold it here. We'll take a break very shortly and return. Yeah. It's a Pan-African Friday, and we're looking at the issues of Zambia. And the election in Zambia, which happened yesterday, the vote count is underway, and we just wait to see. Collins in Zambia is on Zoom here for us, and Justin admits to us that the country expects the results, final results from the Electoral Commission, possibly on Sunday or Monday. We should be able to know who the president-elect of that country is. Mr. Lwanga here is a Ugandan who lived, worked, and stayed in Zambia for almost 2 decades. So he has experience, and he knows Zambia, just like he calls it his second home. We'll take a break from here, then return shortly thereafter.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial star 149 star 10 hash to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers on voice and data.
To buy a bundle for friends and family, dial star 149 star 10 star 5 hash. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today. Dial star 149 star 10 hash to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Echa COVID-19 kijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from this short break. It's up on African Friday. My name is Jagenda Semakola Ziksoka. With me in studios is Nduba Kola Mazima, and our guest today is Mr. Christopher Lwanga, the head of research at the Uganda People's Congress Party. Here with us, a Ugandan whose next or second home is Zambia. He lived, worked, and taught in Zambia for quite a long time. Also married in Zambia. He took the Ugandanness to Zambia. He's with us, and remember, we're looking at the elections in Zambia. We're looking at the elections in Zambia. It happened yesterday, and voting is underway. We expect that Sunday, Monday, the Electoral Commission shall be announcing to us who the elected president of Zambia is. Remember, this election attracted 16 contenders or participants or candidates, but the race is majorly between two parties or two individuals, the incumbent president Edgar Lungu and the main opposition candidate there, Mr. Kenda Hichilimana of the UNPD party, and we wait to see. Now remember that the two have actually been tussling it out. This is, I think, the third time, just like we saw at the election in Ghana, where we saw President Nana Akufo-Addo and President John Mahamad Dramani, who also took themselves on for the third time. It's been, it's happened here before. We saw, or we've seen, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Museveni and Dr. Kiza Besigye also on quite a number of times, just like it happens elsewhere. We are waiting to see what happens. Mr. Lwanga, come back to us again. You are just intimated to us and told us some very good thing here. You were in Zambia, got a problem. You thought because we speak like Zambians, we resemble them, we possibly even share names. You forgot that you're in Zambia and you thought you're possibly in some other district of Uganda.
It is not actually a question of forgetting, but it was inevitable. That was where my choice was.
Sure.
And good enough, there was a Ugandan who is still in Zambia. He's a medical doctor. He's married to a tribal cousin to my in-laws. Actually, she's married from where Hikailemba comes from. Now, for her, she said, you don't know Zambia. For us, we know. We are tribal cousins. I'm going to handle your in-laws. Let me be the leader of delegation. You don't talk. You just bring your people, which I will know how to do the mathematics. And among the delegation, guess who? I grew up with the Honorable Jim Makena, the UPC party president. So he was part of that delegation. And Zambia being a very big country, he had to travel from Lusaka to Mungu, where it is about 500 kilometers.
Here in Moroto.
Yes.
Kampala, Moroto.
Yes. Then we proceeded to Senanga, where I married from, which is about 200 kilometers. And our bargain was, we handle the pregnancy. And we did not destroy. We created. And here is a moving child. Let us handle that one. Then after handling that one, we shoot straight into the marriage. So the discussion was, you cannot combine the two. We break them and you come back another day. So the tribal cousin who is the leader of the delegation intervened and softened the ground for us to have an easy passage. And everybody was surprised that we have managed to do the business in one day, and we have been given officially the wife, and I'm now husband and the wife. And the next day, I went for the marriage certificate, which I was
the customary
given.
marriage?
Yes, which I was given after I've paid my animals. I paid 4 animals for the marriage and 2 for the damage.
What animals are these? Cows?
Cows. But I paid in cash. Okay. So, seeing how tense such a situation is, and an outsider who is a tribal cousin handles it, softens it, it gives you the way they communicate, the way they have their concessions, the way they understand each other. And it shows you that Zambia rarely goes to the blink of war. Even when things are very hard, they retreat. That's why you have managed to see a situation of 2 serving heads of states dying from office, and you don't see a very serious fallout. Things remain normal. They push on, they do their politics and what have you. So our interest now is to learn such type of experiences. And from the time Dr. Kaunda considered that let us go for multi-party politics and the campaign is started, he had all the machinery. Okay, because I would tell you, Zambia, because it was at the center of the liberation wars, it was being hit by South Africa and Zimbabwe, Rhodesia. So it had to upgrade its system, defense system and what have you, and even intelligence. Okay, so by saying that Kenneth Kaunda was the commander-in-chief, he was the commander-in-chief of an arm of everything you cannot even know. We only came to know how deep Zambia was when the new president took over and said, no, we even have tunnels, and showed us the tunnels. We did not know that Zambia has tunnels from State House to other places. Then we did not know that in the next mountain, there is even a State House where a cabinet can be for about 3 months or 4 months, and communicates to the world when you have overrun the capital. But for it, it was underground.
So after President Keke, the one who came in is the one now who started revealing this to
yes, he revealed all that
to the Wananchi.
To the public. And now the security was saying, now, how are we going to protect the head of state and his cabinet if we are in a crisis? But you can see their level of development and their level how the sort of heart Kaunda had. With all that.
But what went wrong? Because when you look at the Kaunda Zambia and the presidents thereafter, after Kaunda, Chiluba, we come on through up to Michael Sata, who died in office, comes in Edgar Lungu. Now we're seeing something seems to have happened to this country called Zambia, and that's why the copper-rich country has all these debts, it has all this economic problem, it has all these issues that actually identify your real African issues. What went wrong to this country that seems to have had very good communication from way back?
I may say that there is nothing much which went wrong if you understand the country, its challenges, and you put them into the context. Zambia from day one was interested in the liberation of Southern Africa. Since it was interested in the liberation of Southern Africa, it is Zambia which had a better economy. Like Zambia was like a Germany of Africa. Because of that, it put a lot of resources in that struggle. By the way, I may tell you, if you go to find the facilities of those liberation movements in Zambia, you may not believe the sort of infrastructure which they had. So the liberation struggle had to take its toll. That is one aspect. Then the ambition, all the grand vision Kaunda had, because Kaunda declared that every part of the Zambia should be connected to the capital with a third road, with the Tamaka road. And this is a country which has some posts outlying as much as 800 kilometers. He had to do that. Then he went on the scheme where he declared every child must eat an egg a day. Okay. To implement all that, it meant that a lot of resources had to go. He was having a vision of a welfare society, and he went actually to do it. I was surprised. By the time I went to Zambia, I found the government departmental stores in each and every location of the country. These ones you have received as ShopRite, Zambia was running them across the country. And most of the items to do with the day-to-day needs of a person were subsidized.
What went wrong, Mr.
Yes,
Langa?
what went wrong was that from the 60s, Kaunda expanded much Zambia. Then we had the Arab-Israeli war in 1971, 72, 73. And the oil prices went up. As the oil prices went up, copper prices went down. But he was already in it. He had expanded. It was a younger nation. He could not retreat. And he was having an obligation of looking after the liberation movements. And South Africa was coming in to bomb. I think even at one time he had to airlift Oliver Tambo and took him to State House. That now I cannot do much. They are coming to bomb you. You come and squeeze here. If they are bombing you, they will bomb me, and it will be a declaration of war. So you can see that from that time he had issues. Oil prices have gone up, copper has gone down, and is committed to the liberation war. When I say that Kaunda was committed to the liberation war, you forget about these other liberation wars you could see. He could look after you, he could cater for you. And with the first-hand sort of requirements.
Mzee
Yes.
Kenneth Kaunda died about 2-3 months ago. About
Yes.
2 months ago,
Yeah.
not so long ago. Do you think he died a happy man from that Kenneth Kaunda of the Mlungushi Club that we saw, the liberator, the African nationalist, till when he died at the age of 90 plus? Did you think he died a happy man, that this is the Zambia that he fought for, and this is the Zambia that he's leaving behind as he crosses over to eternity?
I think Kaunda died a very happy man.
Okay.
Why am I saying so? When he took over, Zambia had less than 100 graduates in total. But now Zambia is teeming with the graduates. Even these current candidates, a majority of them are graduates of University of Zambia, Unza. And it is Kaunda's period when that university was built. That is one aspect. The second aspect, all these emerging politicians split from UNIP. Actually, MMD is a creation
of UNIP,
of members from UNIP. And it is again MMD which disintegrated to give rise to other political parties. Like the late Sata, you could consider him as a senior cadre of UNIP.
Were you still in Zambia at that time when Sata was? No.
By the time Sata took
You
over,
had
he
come
left.
back home.
But Sata was a common figure, which we
common
knew
activist.
from the word go, and he had been
He was
groomed.
a mayor of Lusaka for
Yes,
a
he
good
was a
time.
mayor of Lusaka. He had been groomed through ranks, and we could know much about him. Okay, so you can see that. Then the other aspect, which is also there for Kaunda for having been a happy man, is that much as he had initial problems with the Chiruba, when Chiruba had just taken over, other leaders who came in truly recognized him.
Okay, for his contribution.
Yes, for his contribution, for what. Then these other liberation countries he helped, like Namibia. Namibia gave him an offer that wherever he goes and there is a Namibian embassy, he's treated as a VIP. Okay. So there are a lot of things. Then he was so much interested in one Zambia, one nation, a philosophy. Again, you are seeing Zambia is not splitting. Something is holding it. I'm not saying that I wish it to split, but something is holding it. He had that popular song of Tiende Pamoza. Let us walk together with
How
one
do they
heart.
say that?
Tiende Pamoza.
Is that Kiswahili or some other language?
It is Nyanja.
It's Nyanja.
Nyanja. But everybody used it to sing it. So you could see that whatever he tried to put up, it has helped the country to move forward. However, Kaunda's shoes are so big.
For anybody to fit.
For anybody to fit. Let us just accept that.
Be it the incumbent president Edgar Lungu,
yes.
be it Hichilimana, or
yes.
any other person.
Nobody can fit.
He set the bar so high.
Nobody can fit Kaunda's shoes.
Hold it there. Ndugu Akol, pick it up from here. When I'm just so excited at the passion that Luanga has for that country called Zambia. But you see, we've had that discussion. For example, when you go to our neighbors in Tanzania, where today we now have Mama Samia Suluhu Hassan, the president, taking over from the late, my friend, Dr. John Pombe Joseph Magufuli. There's still that argument of Mwalimu Kambarage Nyerere's shoes actually also too big for anybody to fit. But of course, tides keep changing, things keep changing, and we can now see what Mama Samia Suluhu is actually doing in Tanzania. But what relationships do we think or see, especially when now you look at Zambia and Tanzania with the history of the Mlungusi?
Well, I must say that the founding fathers of Africa, most of them, especially those that left peacefully, their legacy will always be hard to erode. Those that left peacefully, all those whose succession was well managed. Unfortunately, here in Uganda, of course, Obote's succession was never well managed. That's why perhaps here and there his legacy is a little bit shaky. But when you go to places like Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta, you go to even Zimbabwe, you see the founding fathers. Now, for 27 years, Kenneth Kaunda, as the president of Zambia, in his 27 years, there are so many things that he did, and therefore that the legacy still remains on. But there's a question you had asked, what really went wrong in Zambia? I think what went wrong is really very clear, that given that Tanzania and Zambia were at the center of the liberation of Southern Africa, Zambia was on the receiving side. And therefore, when MMD, Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, came to compete for power, they were bankrolled by the apartheid regime in South Africa. They were given that, they were heavily funded. The apartheid regime is also, it is also believed that they were behind the death of Samora Machel. So the apartheid regime made sure that countries that had leaders that were there for the liberation of Southern Africa were actually disorganized, either by sponsoring opponents and so on. That is one. But also the other issue is that in Zambia, people were also craving for change because they had seen in other countries leadership was changing. Tanzania, Nyerere had left. That was the time Al-Hassan Mwinyi had come on board. In Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta had left. In Uganda. So they were saying also, so there was that craving for change. You know, at times people may crave for change for the sake of it. Now the other issue that why really Kaunda lost in 1991 was falling out with his former comrades. Kaunda grew up with a gentleman called Simon Kapwepwe, who was at one time Vice President of Zambia. He was one time Secretary General of UNIP. Very, very close friend. That Resistance said he was his best man, I think, at his wedding. Just like we saw in Tanzania, Oscar Kambona and Nyerere. So the Kapwepwe and his colleagues, that alone, moving out from Kaunda, falling out badly with Kaunda, was also another bitter thing that came to resurface in 1991. So those are some of the things that really led to UNIP and Kaunda losing power. Now, but when Kaunda leaves power, that is in 1991, he was not satisfied. He really wanted to come back in 1996 to contest. And that is when now the Chiluba regime started humiliating him, enacting laws that he's not Zambian, he's Malawi, enacting laws that if you've served for 2 terms, you must not come back. So they came up with the laws that purely targeted Kaunda, so much so that at the height of it, Kaunda lost his son. That is Wezi Kaunda. Yes, he lost his son. So that is how the issue was. But again, 10 years down the road, now the same Chiluba wanted to amend the constitution, but you had said somebody should not rule for more than 2 terms. So he fell out with people, his vice president, called Tembo. And by the way, Tembo is a name from our place in Kasese. So I wonder how he So he fell out with his vice president, Tembo.
No, or Tembo is your Kasese name is from their place.
He is from there. I don't know which. So now he fell out his vice president, Tembo, and eventually went for his former vice president, that is Mwanawasa, Levi Mwanawasa. Levi Mwanawasa was the first vice president of Chiluba. So he had to bring him in to compete. When Levi Mwanawasa competes and wins the election. But now Levi Mwanawasa was sober enough to realize that no, even much as Chiluba has made Kaunda suffer, Kaunda is still the father of the nation. So he restored Kaunda's status as the father of the nation. And this is something that did not go down well with Chiluba, and he fell out. Now, when they fall out with Chiluba, Chiluba teams up with other groups to form Patriotic Front. Now, abandoned his own party. So, Levi Mwanawasa, after his first term, in the second term, he passes on. When he passes on, his vice president, Rupia Banda, he comes on. But you see, the constitution in Zambia is such that when the head of state dies, in 90 days, the acting president should organize election. So Rupia Banda organizes elections and wins an election. But in that election, Chiluba and his group supported Sata, the PF candidate, not Rupia Banda, the candidate of Mwanawasa. So, but Rupia Banda wins an election. When the term was complete, because for them, even when you come in a by-election, you just complete the term. So they went for an election. In that election,
but I think everywhere, you complete the term. Then you're young.
So they went for an election. Then Banda lost to King Cobra, that is now King Cobra, who was Sata. So Sata also 4 years down the road,
he dies in office.
He dies in office. But when he dies in office, the vice president, that was Guy Scott, who's a white actually, he takes over. Now there was serious debate within PF. Will this descendant of colonialists win an election in Zambia? You get it? That was the issue. And that is how Lungu comes in. And one of the reasons why Lungu was given the PF card was because he comes from a large tribe. He comes from the Chewa. And the Chewa is part of the Nyanza tribes. The Nyanza tribes, because now just like it is one of the Nyanza tribes. You see, just like in Ghana you have the Akan tribes, yes, where you have the Ashanti and other tribes which are part of the Akan. So that is how Lungu comes in, because he came from a bigger tribe. So when he comes on, he eventually wins an election, and competing against the Hakainde Hichilema. So now that is the history of Zambia. So you can see they still have the tribal
the tribal issues. Let me go to Zambia, Lusaka, and talk to Collins. Collins, are you there, yes. Collins?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, Collins, come in. Now, these are Ugandans here saying so much about your country there. I want to hear from you, Collins. How have these other things played out, the tribal issues? Because when we get into African politics or elections or democracies, we tend to remember, I am a Chewe, I am a Nyanja, I am all the things. We normally tend to remember the things. I am a Muganda, I am a Mchiga. You go to Kenya, they are together when they are handling Kenyan issues. But when they get into elections, then they remember another person is a Jaluo, the other is a Kikuyu, the other is a Kamba, the other is a Luya, and these things. How have tribal issues played out in Zambia, and how do they affect your electoral democracies and processes?
Well, I think as they have illustrated, the people that side, they are talking so much with passion about my country, which is making me feel more proud. Talking to the issue of tribalism, I think those are politics strategies, you know, just to bring up about the division of the people, like to make people start thinking about something so that, you know, they might end up being disturbed in some ways in terms of like the understanding of how to disgrade the other, like, you know, discampaign the other person, something like that. Yeah, so we had issues related to that, like, you know, this one is a Tonga, this one is, you know, from Eastern Province and stuff like that. But all in all, as they have said, I think they have bring it out very nicely, in a sense that in us Zambians, there is always that thing which always brings us together, despite that we might fight or might do what and what. But at the end of the day, we feel so comfortable with each other. So some of these things, they're there, but they don't really disturb us to an extent whereby we can end up like fighting each other to a level which doesn't bring us together. Yeah.
What is that, Collins, that brings you together as a country? Because yes, we appreciate that among the Zambians, there are people who belong to the MMD party, there are people who belong to the PF party, there are people who belong to the UNPD party, there are people who belong to UNIP. These are political outfits. We just choose to belong. We have several others. When you go across Africa, all of us belong to different political parties. But ultimately, we get to levels where we remember that we are this type of people, we are this country, and what glues you together? Your brother-in-law here in studios, Mr. Lwanga Christopher, has just reminded us about the Tende Pamoza of the late KK. What brings you together away from the politics and your extractions of political parties?
I think it's a sense of humor and a sense of belonging, that we are one people. Like what one of the panelists there said that Mr. KK really did a lot of job in making sure that we become one Zambia, one nation, Tiende Pamos na Mtima Omos, in a local language. So I think it's due to our father who really insisted that we should become people who can help one another, and we can become people who can really respect one another, you know, with dignity and with the sense of humor. They have spoken it out very clearly that Kaunda could help his colleagues from Namibia, South Africa, as well as Zimbabwe, in ensuring that these people they achieve their independence. So I think it has been like that. It has been with that spirit that the Zambians, they have remained with that spirit of caring for one another at the end of the day, despite anything.
Okay. What looking at the election, of course, the candidates now. What is the known religious affiliation of President Edgar Lungu? What is the known religious affiliation of Hichilimana, HH, and these others? Because there are places where we see religion also playing out in deciding who they think should be the president. We've seen clergy getting to pulpits, getting to congregations, getting to their altars, and instead of preaching Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, instead of talking about Muhammad as a prophet of Allah, then they get to actually advocating for Collins and Lwanga and Semakula and these others. How has religion also played out in your electoral processes leading to the election that happened yesterday in Zambia?
Well, I think the message is very much clear in the sense that peace is very fundamental in our societies. So the churches, I think they have also played a huge role in ensuring that they mentor these candidates, because when we go to church, we are called the sons of, you know, our leaders at church, because they are in that field. Bringing us closer to God. So hence we bow to them, we give them respect for that. So I think they have played the role in a sense that they have been able to unite these people despite anything, that they should maintain and they should respect the orders, and they should make sure that they live in peace with everyone despite being the opposition or maybe being the opponent or things like that, that we have the common goal, or maybe we have the common center, which is our Lord Jesus Christ, or maybe our Heavenly Father, whom we should always look up to save us in any ways, or maybe in any means, and be able also to seek guidance for reconciliation. The consideration in our shortcomings and things like that that bring us close. That bring us apart.
Okay. Yes, and I think that's very good, Collins. I'm hearing and learning from you. But yet again, as we wait for the results, Sunday or Monday from the Electoral Commission, I know you are in Lusaka right now. Is it a public holiday in Lusaka? I just want to know this morning. Have people woken up to go and work? Are shops open? Are businesses operational? Are the markets working? Or people are in their homes watching TV, listening to radio, and waiting for the official pronouncement from the Electoral Commission? What are they doing today?
It's been a public holiday since yesterday. Not until probably Monday.
Collins?
Yes.
Go ahead and speak to us. It's a public holiday. Public holiday yesterday and today, and of course tomorrow is a weekend and Sunday. So you think businesses will get back to working on Monday?
Probably on Tuesday.
On Tuesday.
Yes.
What do you think will happen after the announcement of the results? Of course, the winners will celebrate, and the losers will, of course, feel very bad. But you look at Zambians winning honorably and also losing honorably.
Well, I think it to mean that the citizens have decided what they want, and hence it will be now the issue of like how best can they work together, the losers and the winners, in ensuring that they bring sustainable development to the country, because I think every person has different abilities and every institution have different skills on how to handle different affairs, or maybe how to construct something more attractive to the other people, looking at it that we've got a common agenda to develop this country and make this country a better place for every Zambian citizen and for any person that might feel like coming and have some good time here in Zambia.
Let it be President Edgar Lungu elected for the next term, or let it be Hichilimana elected for next year 2021-2026. What would you personally, as a Zambian citizen, want to see from whoever gets to State House after this election? What do you want to see for Zambia, for the people in Zambia, the citizens of Zambia, for the posterity and the prosperity of... What would you love to see? That because at the end of the day, it's got to be one. Either President Lungu stays in State House or another president comes in State House, but what would you want to see going forward from this particular election?
I think I'm a person who has also had a chance to experience other places like Uganda there and Tanzania and other places. So looking at these places, how beautiful they are, how developed they are, and how things are getting to move in these places in different sectors like agriculture, you know, and other sectors. So I think I'm looking forward to a country which might be able to attract other people in terms of agriculture sector, and also might also be able to attract people in a tourism sector, and these many other things that they might make this country to be on the map. I'm looking at a proper development in my country. There's come of education and the infrastructure of the buildings, you know, and opportunities, more especially to the young people, the youths, because they are the fundamentals of every corner of development of anything in the societies. So I'm looking at these things like how best can we make this country like excel from other countries, and how do we make our local people, you know, benefiting from this country, like having opportunities and participating in making this country economic, stable, and developmental, and, you know, have a good leadership at the same time, a leadership which is building up from this generation to another generation. So I'm looking to all these things, how best can the person who's going to come next going to address these kind of issues. Of course, there are a lot of issues that are going around, but I think this can be one of them that can really help the country, the citizens of the country, and other people from outside.
Okay, well, that's very important. Coming back to studios, I'll go back to Collins later. Mr. Luanga, I am sure you've been following the results. Like you said, you regard this country as Mututa.
Yes.
Yes, are you on?
I'm following. I've been with you throughout.
Oh, that's very important. Do you want to talk back to us?
Yeah.
Yes, please. Let's hear from you. What do you have to say from what you've had the people here in studios say? Speak to us, Mututa.
Zambia was behaving in Uganda. Yeah. Are you getting me? I'm trying to get back to you.
Yes, we are hearing you. Go ahead and speak to us. We don't mind. We may not see your picture, but we can hear your voice. Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
Please.
even my picture is still can see it. Yeah.
It is on now.
I was excited when I was hearing Mr. Rwanga talk of how he exported the Ugandan in him to Zambia. And it was very interesting. Now, you may also realize that, of course, you guys were talking about why the transition in Zambia has been smooth, but also has had a number of historical issues, including, you remember, when after Mzee Kenneth Kaunda lost the election, at one point they had to pass legislation stopping him from further participation in the politics of the country. At some point, he had also been taken to prison because as one of the ways of deterring him from coming back to participate in the politics of that country. Now, that also shows us Africans sometimes how we handle our politics, that the democracy we are taught, sometimes we end up puncturing it ourselves because we set the standard sometimes, but then we're also the ones who default. Now, you also realize that most of the post-independence political parties lost popularity and also lost leadership. You realize in Kenya, for example, one had to go off the map completely because of the leadership styles. We see this happening in Malawi. We have seen this happen in Zimbabwe. But you also realize that if things go that way, you realize that even ANC, as one of the founding parties, also having problems in South Africa and the rest, and many other parts of Africa. Now, the biggest problem has been, and which Colin has been talking about, the social dynamics. Most of these political parties, after took over power, did a lot in promoting the political agenda, but then there was something that was cardinal that was left out. Many people would be wondering what has happened, especially in Tanzania, that Chama cha Mapinduzi still remains popular. Of course, I understand it's also getting challenges, but the challenges that are happening in Chama cha Mapinduzi are the challenges that are coming from within the party, like it was in Zambia, that most of the people who are now in leadership in most of these African have offshoots of the original political parties, I think in most of the African countries. So the issue of social transformation has been a problem and has been the yardstick of measure to most of these political parties and the political leadership in most of the African countries, to the extent that where you find that the social systems we are going to live, how are people going to, of course, education has been very key, that most of the post-independence leaders were focusing on education. And indeed, many African students have gotten quality education both from within and from outside the continent, because basically, like you remember, that most of the founding fathers had to have their education outside of Africa. So when they came back, they knew education was going to be a key factor in the development of the country and of the continent, and indeed it was. But then education alone, you realize today, is not going to be a problem. I mean, it's not going to be a solution because many people have gone to school. We have people of all ages who have gone to school, but then how do they now make use of that education to benefit themselves, but also benefit the communities where they have come from? So that is one of the yardsticks that has been a issue in the democratic development of Africa, that most of the political parties that founded the Africa states are not able to hold. But again, the unity, when Bwana Lwanga was talking about the unity of the then leaders, the Kenneth Kaunda, Nyerere, Obote, and others. Now, the unfortunate thing was that most of these people were being looked at as socialists by nature, because they were promoting the African way of doing things, the African socialism. So to come off those countries, like President Museveni said, when an African president is talking, or one person in Africa is looked at as either belonging to the left or belonging to the right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ndugu Mutu.
But you belong to Africa. So those are some more exceptions that really affected Africa, including, I think, the issue of Zambia.
Okay, thank you so much. We really appreciate you for your conversation. We can see you traveling. We can see you traveling, and you've done your best to actually make sure that you follow us and don't miss out on our Pan-African Friday today. Just before we get out of studios in the next 15 minutes, we'll call you back to say bye to us, and we also say safe journey to you as you continue traveling and moving. We come back to studios here. Mr. Lwanga, I had actually asked you whether, of course I know you've been following the campaigns back to your second home right there. What do you think are these pertinent issues that these candidates have brought out that you think will spur this country, Zambia, to another level from where it is today?
Yeah, one thing which I must put very clearly is that the background of Patriotic Front had that vision of having massive projects, in the country. And the founding father of Patriotic Front is the late Michael Chirufya Sata. He was known as a man of action. And wherever he was given a ministry to run, he could make that ministry very prominent.
Michael Sata.
And when he's made a secretary general of a political party, and it is the delegate conference, you know that Sata is going to leave his powerful home, go and sleep with the delegates from up country, share with them the evening, the night, the jokes. Then his vision was to reactivate Zambia, which Kaunda had left. This meant that he went for massive projects, and I think it is the one which is putting down the economy. Universities, he started on them, roads, he started on them. He did a lot of infrastructure network, but since he could not complete his term, because he went to live with the road, the new leader, Edgar Lungu, continued. Even if you have watched his last campaign, he has been commissioning airports, industries, what have you, okay? When you go to Zambia, you really appreciate that infrastructure. So the Zambians have benefited from the infrastructure which PF started. But now the issue went beyond the infrastructure. Kaunda's legacy was to create a welfare society. When IMF and World Bank were on the neck of Kaunda, Kaunda had to expel them from Zambia. Then things got worse. He again negotiated for them to come back. on their being negotiated to come back, they also came with tough conditions. But Kaunda said, I have my people who are suffering, the downgraded ones, and also the civil servants. I'm not going to leave them before IMF to strangle them. And what he did was to design a system of giving all those people coupons to get their miru miru. Miru miru is the staple food. My colleagues, the members of staff, were also qualifying for the miru miru. So and it was a national project. This thing you call Nabanja money. There it was in terms of coupon. You are given a coupon, about 4. You take them to a supermarket, and you are given 4 bags of miru miru, of maize flour. So when you see that Sata wanted to create that, to bring it back, his colleague has also tried. Now they are saying, most Zambians, that since we have a successful businessman, this is now here Kayende, he can kickstart the economy. Yes, and we start picking the benefits. Okay, so they are all trying to see how they can reactivate the economy. But remember, the economy of Kaunda days and the economy of today are two different things.
Of course, different dispensations, different times, yes.
Yes, and with that one of Kaunda, he had a lot of room to maneuver, because he was having key parastatals like Zambia Consolidated Copper Mine. It was in the government side. Then there was ZIMCO, Zambia Industrial Mining Corporation. Then there was INDECO, Industrial Development Corporation of Zambia. These were running a lot of industries, a lot of parastatals. So he had the resources. Now, Chiluba takes over and privatizes the economy. Zambia did not have indigenous businessmen to take over the economy. Their industries were having a mark at a global level. Because like Zambia now is, I think, the second leading producer of copper in Africa. So it means such an industry, no ordinary individual can inherit it. So most of the industries, most of the work which Kaunda had done went into foreign hands. And now the foreign hands which took over, the rate at which they drop things on the ground, it is not enough. It is not enough. That's why you are seeing there is even a socialist party of Freddie Membe, who was a critic to Kaunda, and even he wrote the newspaper, which was the Post newspaper. Now it is known as Must. So you are seeing that they are trying to go back to their original, okay, what can we do? And in the process, they are caught up with the massive unemployment. The massive unemployment is coupled with the economic hardship. And remember, Kaunda had that vision that much as we are depending on copper, we need to open up in tourism, we need to open up in agriculture. So the ordinary voters are seeing that the new leader of UPND can have those, have those issues. One,
as a successful businessman,
apart from being a successful businessman, is coming from a region which is known as the Southern Province for the Tongas. It is mainly an agricultural region, and they keep cattle, they do a lot of farming, they are very hardworking, okay, and they actually have homesteads which are very big because they are polygamous in nature, and they own a lot of cattle. So people imagine that he may take that into the national politics. And since also he was part of the people who privatized the economy as technocrats, others still believe that he knows the economy. But at the same time, Zambia is a society which was modeled along humanistic policies, which are money-centered. the incumbent is very humble. The incumbent is